The evening rain had just stopped when Robert Harlow stepped out of the Grand Plaza Hotel. The charity gala had gone well, raising millions for children's education, but Robert felt empty inside. Success meant little to him these days. Robert was one of the richest men in America. At 54, he had built Harlow Technologies from nothing into a global empire. His face regularly appeared in business magazines. But behind his perfect suits and practiced smile was a broken man. 10 years ago, his 8-year-old daughter Sophia disappeared during their family vacation in Italy. One moment, she was holding his wife's hand in a busy market, and the next she was gone. The investigation found nothing. No witnesses, no clues, no Sophia. The tragedy destroyed his marriage. His wife Diana couldn't bear to look at him anymore, blaming him for suggesting the trip. 2 years after Sophia vanished, Diana left too. "Mr. Harlow, the car is waiting," said James, his security head, pointing to the black SUV at the curb. "I think I'll walk for a bit," Robert replied, needing fresh air to clear his head. "Sir, it's not safe to. Just a few blocks, James. I'll call when I'm ready." Robert walked away before James could argue. The streets were mostly empty now, with just a few people hurrying home. The wet pavement reflected the city lights, creating pools of color at his feet. As Robert turned a corner, he noticed a small figure sitting against a building wall. A young girl, probably a teenager, was huddled under a tattered blanket. Her clothes were dirty, and her brown hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. Something about her face made Robert stop walking. The girl looked up, feeling his gaze. For a moment, Robert couldn't breathe. Her eyes, the unique shade of hazel with flecks of gold, were exactly like Sophia's. "You got some change?" the girl asked, her voice rough but young. Robert moved closer. "How old are you? Why do you care?" She shot back, pulling her blanket tighter. "You shouldn't be out here alone. It's not safe." The girl laughed without humor. "Nowhere's safe, mister." Robert couldn't look away from her face. The shape of her nose, the curve of her cheekbones, they triggered memories of his daughter. Was his mind playing tricks on him? "I'm Robert," he said, crouching down to her level. "What's your name?" She studied him suspiciously. "Mia." "Mia, when was the last time you ate?" She shrugged. "Yesterday, maybe." "There's a diner around the corner. Would you let me buy you dinner?" "Why would you do that?" Mia asked, eyes narrowing. Robert wasn't sure what to say. He couldn't tell this stranger that she looked like his missing daughter. "Because everyone deserves a hot meal." "You don't look like the usual church people," she said, studying his expensive suit. "I'm not. Just someone who wants to help." Mia hesitated, then slowly stood up. She was thin, too thin, and shorter than he expected. "No funny business. I got a knife," she warned, patting her pocket. "Just dinner," Robert promised, keeping some distance between them. As they walked to the diner, Robert noticed more details. Mia had a small scar near her right eyebrow, just like Sophia had gotten when she fell off her bike at 6. And when Mia tucked her hair behind her ear, her fingers moved in the exact same way his daughters used to. Robert's heart pounded. It couldn't be possible. Thousands of girls went missing every year. The chances were impossibly small. But as they entered the warm light of the diner, a crazy thought took hold in Robert's mind. What if, after all these years of searching, fate had somehow led him right to her? The small diner was nearly empty. Robert guided Mia to a booth in the back corner, away from the windows. The waitress raised her eyebrows at the odd pair, a man in an expensive suit and a dirty homeless teenager, but didn't comment. "Order whatever you want," Robert said, handing Mia a menu. She studied it carefully, her eyes moving across each item. "Can I get the burger and fries? And a chocolate milkshake?" "Of course." When the food arrived, Mia ate quickly, as if afraid someone might take it away. Robert watched her, trying not to stare but failing. Every movement, every expression seemed to echo his memories of Sophia. "Why do you keep looking at me like that?" Mia finally asked, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Robert shifted uncomfortably. "I'm sorry, you remind me of someone." "Who?" "My daughter." Mia rolled her eyes. "Let me guess. She's disappointed you. Ran away. Now you're trying to save some random street kid to feel better." "No," Robert said quietly. "She disappeared 10 years ago. She was 8." Something in his voice made Mia's sarcastic expression soften. Oh, I'm sorry. How long have you been on the streets, Mia? She shrugged, playing with her straw. About 2 years, I guess. And before that, your family? Mia's face hardened again. Foster care, lots of different homes, none worth staying in. How old are you? 18, she said quickly. Robert didn't believe her. Really? Mia sighed. Fine. 17. But I'll be 18 in a few months, so don't even think about calling social services. 17. The math fit perfectly. Sophia would be 18 now. Where were you born, Mia? Robert asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Here in the city, I think. She frowned slightly. At least that's what they told me. They? My first foster parents, the Millers. Mia's expression darkened. They said I was left at a hospital as a baby. No ID, nothing. Just abandoned. Robert's heart raced. This didn't match what happened to Sophia, but trafficking rings often created false backgrounds for children. Do you have any early memories? Before the foster homes? Mia looked uncomfortable. Why all these questions? I'm just trying to understand your situation. I might be able to help. She studied him for a long moment. What, like give me money? I could help you find a safe place to stay, get an education, a job eventually. Why would you do that for a stranger? Robert couldn't tell her his suspicions. Not yet. Let's just say I have the resources, and helping someone like you would mean a lot to me. Mia's eyes narrowed. I don't need your pity. It's not pity, it's... Robert paused, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes helping others helps us heal our own wounds. Mia finished her milkshake in silence, thinking. Then she said, I do have some weird dreams sometimes. About a big house with a garden. A woman singing. A little dog with curly white fur, she shrugged. But that's probably just stuff I saw on TV. Robert felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Sophie had a small white Bicken Frise named Daisy. Their family home had an extensive garden where Diana would sing while gardening. These dreams, Robert said, trying to keep his voice steady. How long have you had them? Forever, I guess. The weird thing is, they feel more like memories than dreams. Mia suddenly looked embarrassed. That sounds stupid, right? Not at all. Robert pulled out his business card and placed it on the table. Mia, I want you to call me if you ever need anything. Anything at all. She picked up the card, her eyes widening as she read it. You're Robert Harlow, the tech guy. Yes, so you're like really rich. I am, he admitted. Which means I can really help you if you'll let me. Mia slipped the card into her pocket, her face a mix of suspicion and hope. I'll think about it. As they left the diner, Robert knew one thing for certain. He needed to find out if this girl was his long-lost daughter, and he wouldn't rest until he knew the truth. 3 days passed with no word from Mia. Robert could barely focus on work. His mind kept returning to the girl with Sophia's eyes and the dreams that matched his daughter's life. James, Robert called his head of security into his office. I need your help with something personal. James closed the door behind him. Of course, sir. I need to find a homeless girl named Mia, 17 years old. Robert showed him a sketch an artist had made based on his description. This is what she looks like. James studied the drawing. May I ask why, sir? Robert hesitated. I believe she needs help. That's all I can say for now. Understood. I'll be discreet. That evening, rain pounded against the windows of Robert's penthouse as he stared at old family photos. One showed Sophia at 6, holding Daisy the dog, her hazel eyes sparkling with joy. The resemblance to Mia was striking. His phone rang. We found her, sir, James said. She's at City Hope Shelter. She's asking for you. 20 minutes later, Robert rushed into the shelter, a simple building with worn furniture. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes met him at the desk. I'm Susan Fields, the director, she said. Mia came in about an hour ago, soaking wet. When we asked if there was anyone we could call, she showed us your card. Susan led Robert to a small room where Mia sat wrapped in a blanket, her hair still damp from the rain. She looked smaller, younger. You actually came, Mia said, surprise in her voice. Of course I did, Robert replied, sitting across from her. What happened? Mia looked down. The abandoned building where I was staying got raided. Police everywhere. I lost my backpack with everything I own. She hesitated. I didn't know where else to go. Robert felt a mix of sadness and hope. I'm glad you called me. Susan watched them carefully. Mr. Harlow, may I ask what your relationship is to Mia? Before Robert could answer, Mia spoke. He's helping me get back on my feet, like a mentor or something. Susan didn't look convinced. Mia needs stable housing and support services. We can only offer emergency shelter for 3 nights. I can help with that, Robert said immediately. I own several properties through my foundation. There's an apartment building for youth in transition. I'm not going to some group home, Mia interrupted. It's not a group home, Robert explained. It's individual apartments with support staff available. You'd have your own space, but people there to help when needed. Mia considered this. And what do you get out of it? The question hung in the air. Robert knew he couldn't tell her his suspicions yet. She'd think he was crazy, or worse, that he was making up a story to take advantage of her. Like I said before, helping someone like you matters to me. Susan stepped in. Mia, would you like some hot chocolate? The kitchen just made some. When Mia left the room, Susan turned to Robert. Mr. Harlow, I need to be direct. Your interest in this girl concerns me. She's vulnerable. I understand how this looks, Robert said. But my intentions are good. I lost my daughter years ago. Helping Mia is healing for me. Susan's expression softened slightly. I appreciate your honesty, but these young people have been hurt enough. If you want to help, it needs to be on proper terms. What do you suggest? Our foundation has a mentorship program. It includes background checks, clear boundaries, and supervision. She handed him a brochure. If you're serious about helping Mia, this is the right way. When Mia returned, Robert made her an offer. The apartment is yours if you want it. No strings attached. And if you're willing, I'd like to be your official mentor through the shelter's program. Mia studied his face. Why me? There are lots of homeless kids. Robert took a deep breath. Sometimes in life, we meet people we're meant to help. I believe you're one of those people for me. For the first time, Mia gave him a real smile. It transformed her face, making the resemblance to Sophia even more striking. Okay, she said quietly. I'll try it. As they left together, Robert knew he was one step closer to discovering if this girl was truly his daughter. But even if she wasn't, he realized he still wanted to help her find her way home. 2 weeks passed since Mia moved into the transition apartment. The space was simple but comfortable, a small bedroom, bathroom, living area, and kitchenette. For Mia, who had been sleeping in abandoned buildings and under bridges, it felt like a palace. Robert visited twice a week, always with Susan or another staff member present, following the mentorship program rules. Today, they sat in the building's community room playing chess, a game Mia was surprisingly good at. Checkmate, Mia said, moving her queen into position. Robert stared at the board in surprise. That's the 3rd time you've beaten me. Where did you learn to play like that? Mia frowned. I don't know, actually. I just know how. She touched the white queen piece thoughtfully. Sometimes I have these weird flashes, like memories, but they don't fit with what I know about my life. What kind of flashes? Robert asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Like yesterday, I found myself humming this song. I have no idea where I heard it, but it felt so familiar. She started to hum a soft melody. Robert froze. It was Sophia's bedtime song, a Hungarian lullaby that Diana's grandmother had taught her. Not something anyone would know unless they had heard it before. That's beautiful, he said, his voice thick. What else do you remember? Mia shrugged. Random stuff. A bedroom with clouds painted on the ceiling. A birthday cake shaped like a castle. A woman with long dark hair brushing my hair and counting to 100 strokes. Each detail matched Sophia's life exactly. Robert's hands trembled as he reset the chess pieces. Mr. Harlow, are you okay? Mia asked. Yes, just these memories of yours. When did they start? I've always had them, I guess. The foster families thought I was making things up. Mia hesitated. There's something else too. Something scary. What is it? Sometimes I dream about being in a crowded place. People everywhere. Someone is holding my hand, and I feel safe. Then suddenly my hand is empty. There are strange faces all around me. A woman I don't know takes my hand instead, saying she'll help me find my mom, but she takes me to a van instead. There are other scared kids there. Mia's voice trembled. That's when I usually wake up. Robert could barely breathe. This matched what they believed happened to Sophia, abducted by a trafficking ring that targeted tourists. Have you told anyone else about these dreams? He asked. Just my therapist here. She thinks they might be real memories, not just dreams. She says sometimes our brains hide traumatic memories to protect us. Robert nodded, his mind racing. He needed proof, but how? A DNA test would be the most direct approach, but he couldn't just ask Mia for one without explaining why. Mia, do you know anything about your birth parents? She shook her head. Just what I told you before. I was abandoned as a baby. No birth certificate, no name. The first family that fostered me named me Mia. Would you like to find out more about your past? Robert asked carefully. Mia looked up sharply. What do you mean? There are ways to trace your origins. DNA testing, for example. Why would you care about my DNA? Suspicion filled her voice. Susan, who had been sitting nearby, moved closer. Is everything all right? Robert realized he pushed too fast. I'm sorry, Mia. I just thought you might want answers about your background. Mia stood up abruptly. I need to go to my room now. After she left, Susan gave Robert a concerned look. Mr. Harlow, what's going on? You seem very invested in Mia's past. Robert knew he had to tell someone. Susan, this will sound incredible, but I need to share something with you in confidence. As Susan listened to Robert explain his suspicions, the resemblance, the matching memories, the timing, her expression changed from skepticism to stunned disbelief. If there's even a chance she's my daughter, Robert finished, I need to find out, but I don't want to frighten her. Susan nodded slowly. This is extraordinary, but we need to proceed carefully. Mia's trust is fragile. If we push too hard, we could lose all the progress she's made. What do you suggest? Let me talk to her therapist, and give Mia more time. Let her come to trust you naturally. Susan paused. And Robert? Prepare yourself for either outcome. This could change both your lives forever. Robert sat in his office staring at the phone. 3 days had passed since his chess game with Mia, and she hadn't returned his calls. Susan assured him that Mia was fine, just processing things. His assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Harlow, Detective Wallace is here to see you. Michael Wallace was a retired police detective who now worked exclusively for Robert's security team. He was in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. What did you find? Robert asked as soon as the door closed. Wallace placed a file on the desk. I pulled every missing persons report matching the general description from that time period. I found something interesting. He opened the file to show a newspaper article with a photo of a crying couple, the Millers. They claimed their 3-year-old daughter was abducted from a mall in Ohio 11 years ago. The Millers? Robert repeated. Mia said her first foster parents were named Miller. Exactly. But here's where it gets strange. I checked adoption records. The Millers never formally adopted any child. They fostered several children over the years, but always claimed they were trying to replace their abducted daughter. Robert frowned. So Mia could have been one of those foster children? Possibly. Or, Wallace hesitated. Or she could have been the alleged abducted daughter who never actually existed. What are you saying? I'm saying the Millers might have been part of the trafficking ring, create a fake abduction story, then bring in a truly abducted child, like your daughter, and raise her as their foster child until the heat dies down. Robert's heart pounded. We need more proof. I've requested the Millers' financial records. If they received payments from suspicious sources around the time of Sophia's disappearance, that would strengthen our case. What about Mia's memories? The Hungarian lullaby, the cloud ceiling in Sophia's room? Wallace nodded. Powerful indicators, but we need something definitive. DNA testing is the only way to be certain. I can't just ask for her DNA without telling her why. Then perhaps it's time to tell her your suspicions. Robert shook his head. Not yet. If I'm wrong, I'll destroy the trust we built. When their meeting ended, Robert drove to the transition apartments. He needed to see Mia, to apologize for pushing too hard. The building manager told him she was in the garden out back. Robert found her sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook. He approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. "That's very good," he said, nodding at her drawing of a flower. Mia looked up, her expression guarded. "Thanks." "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the space beside her. She nodded, and he sat down. "I'm sorry about the other day," Robert said. "I didn't mean to upset you with questions about your past." Mia closed her sketchbook. "Why are you really helping me, Mr. Harlow? And don't say it's because I remind you of your daughter." Robert took a deep breath. "That is the reason. At least, it was at first." "At first?" "Now I'm helping you because I've come to care about what happens to you, Mia. You're smart, talented, and stronger than most adults I know." She studied his face, looking for lies. "My therapist says people usually want something when they help others." "Sometimes what they want is just to make a difference," Robert replied. "To know they've done something good in the world." Mia seemed to accept this. After a moment, she said, "I've been having more dreams. Or memories. I don't know which. Would you like to tell me about them?" There was a tree house, red with white trim, and a swing hanging from the biggest branch. Mia looked confused. "It feels so real, but none of my foster homes had anything like that." Robert struggled to keep his expression neutral. He had built that exact treehouse for Sophia's 6th birthday. "Mia," he said gently, "what if I told you there might be a way to find out where these memories come from?" "How?" "There are tests that can help recover lost memories, and tests that can tell you about your biological family." Mia was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, "Do you think I might have a real family out there somewhere? People who didn't abandon me?" The hope in her voice nearly broke Robert's heart. "I think it's possible," he said softly. "Would you want to find out?" Mia nodded slowly. "Yes, I think I would." As they sat in the garden, Robert knew they were about to embark on a journey that would change both their lives forever. Whatever the truth turned out to be, there was no turning back now. Dr. Sarah Chen's office was calm and peaceful, with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. As a specialist in recovered memories and trauma, she had agreed to meet with Mia as a favor to Robert. Mia sat nervously on a couch, while Robert waited in the reception area. "Mia, I want you to understand that this process is entirely voluntary," Dr. Chen explained. "We'll only explore memories you feel comfortable discussing." Mia nodded. "I just want to know who I really am. These fragments don't make sense." "Let's start with your earliest clear memory." Mia thought for a moment. "Being with the Millers. I was young, maybe 5 or 6. Mrs. Miller was teaching me to say that I'd been with them since I was a baby." Dr. Chen's expression remained neutral, but she made a note. "She specifically taught you to say that?" "Yes, she would make me practice. If anyone asks, you say you've been with us since you were a tiny baby." Mia frowned. "I never questioned it then." "What about before the Millers? Any flashes at all?" Mia closed her eyes. "A big house, different from theirs. A woman singing in a language I didn't understand. A dog with curly white fur." For the next hour, Dr. Chen gently guided Mia through her memory fragments. They discussed the red tree house, the cloud ceiling, and the recurring nightmare of having her hand pulled away in a crowd. Meanwhile, in the waiting room, Robert's phone buzzed. It was Wallace. "I got something," the detective said without greeting. The Millers received 5 cash deposits of $10,000 each in the 3 months after Sophia disappeared. The money came through a shell company that's been linked to a known trafficking operation. Robert's hand tightened on the phone. "That can't be coincidence." "There's more." Mrs. Miller worked for a cleaning service that had contracts with several luxury hotels in Italy, including the one where your family stayed. "She could have been spotting potential targets," Robert whispered. "Exactly. And after your daughter vanished, the Millers suddenly had a new foster child who they kept largely isolated." Robert felt sick. "Where are they now?" "Mr. Miller died 3 years ago. Heart attack. Mrs. Miller lives in a retirement community in Florida." "I want to talk to her." "Already working on it. But Robert, we still need DNA confirmation before taking any legal action." After ending the call, Robert stared at the wall, his mind racing. Everything pointed to Mia being Sophia, yet he needed to be absolutely certain. The door opened, and Dr. Chen invited him in. Mia's eyes were red, but she looked calm. "We've had a productive session," Dr. Chen said. "Mia has agreed to try something called EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It can help access blocked memories. And I've decided something else," Mia added, her voice steady. "I want to do that DNA test you mentioned." Robert tried to hide his shock. "What made you decide?" "Dr. Chen thinks my memories might be real, that I might have been with another family before the Millers. I need to know the truth." The next day, Mia and Robert sat together in Susan's office at the transition housing. A medical technician had just taken cheek swab samples from both of them. "The results will take about 3 days," the technician explained as she labeled the samples. After she left, Mia turned to Robert. "There's something I need to ask you." "Anything," he replied. "Your daughter who disappeared, what was her name?" Robert hesitated. He hadn't told Mia many details about Sophia, not wanting to influence her memories. "Her name was Sophia," he said finally. "Sophia Grace Harlow." Mia went very still. "Sophia," she repeated softly, as if testing the name. "When I was little, sometimes I would dream that was my real name, that someone was calling me Sophia, not Mia." Susan gasped quietly. Robert felt tears threatening to form. "Mrs. Miller got so angry once when I told her about that dream," Mia continued. "She said I was making things up for attention. That was the first time she hit me." Robert clenched his fists, struggling to control his anger. If the Millers had taken his daughter and then abused her, he wasn't sure what he might do. "Mia," Susan said gently, "are you prepared for what these test results might show?" Mia looked at Robert, studying his face. "I think I already know what they'll say," she whispered. "I just need to see it in black and white." As they sat in silence, the weight of possibility hung in the air. In 3 days, they would know for certain if the homeless girl Robert had found by chance was truly his long-lost daughter. The 3 days of waiting felt like 3 years. Robert buried himself in work but couldn't focus. Mia spent hours with Dr. Chen, uncovering more memory fragments. Each new detail, a birthday party with a clown who made balloon animals, a vacation at a beach house with blue shutters, a favorite teddy bear named Mr. Whiskers, matched Sophia's life exactly. On the 3rd day, Robert's private lab called. The results were ready. Susan arranged for them to meet in her office. When Robert arrived, Mia was already there, sitting stiffly in a chair. Dr. Chen sat beside her for support. Detective Wallace stood by the window, his face revealing nothing. "The lab courier should be here any minute," Susan said, checking her watch. Mia looked at Robert. "Whatever these results say, thank you for helping me find answers." Robert nodded, too emotional to speak. A knock at the door announced the courier. Susan signed for the envelope and handed it to Robert. His hands trembled as he broke the seal. The room was completely silent as he unfolded the paper. His eyes immediately found the conclusion line. "Probability of paternity, 99, 99, 98%. Robert looked up, tears filling his eyes. "It's positive. You're my daughter." Mia, Sophia, didn't move. She stared at Robert as if seeing him clearly for the first time. "I'm Sophia," she whispered. "I'm really Sophia." Dr. Chen gently touched her arm. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've been living someone else's life," she replied, her voice shaking. "Like I'm waking up from a nightmare." Detective Wallace stepped forward. "With this evidence, we can now pursue criminal charges against Mrs. Miller and anyone else involved in your abduction." Sophia turned to him, suddenly alert. "Mrs. Miller." She knew. She always knew I wasn't really their foster child. "Yes," Wallace confirmed. "We believe the Millers were paid to take you after you were abducted in Italy. They kept you hidden until the search died down, then claimed you were a foster child." "But why?" Sophia asked. "Why take me?" Robert answered quietly, "Child trafficking. They targeted tourists' children. We think Mrs. Miller spotted you at our hotel, where she worked as a cleaner." Sophia wrapped her arms around herself. "All these years, you were looking for me." "Every day," Robert said. "We never stopped." Sophia looked up. "My mother, is she?" "Diana is alive," Robert confirmed. "We divorced after you disappeared, but she never gave up hope either." Susan, who had been quietly watching, spoke up. This is overwhelming for everyone. Sophia, you don't need to process everything at once. Sophia nodded gratefully. Then she asked the question Robert had been dreading. What happens now? The room fell silent again. Everyone looked at Robert. That's entirely up to you, he said gently. Legally, you're still a minor, but you've been on your own for years. I won't force you to do anything you're not comfortable with. Could I? Sophia hesitated. Could I meet my mother? Of course. She lives about an hour from here. I can call her right now if you want. Sophia thought for a moment, then shook her head. Not yet. I need time to get used to being me, the real me. Dr. Chen nodded approvingly. That's very wise. Rushing this process could be overwhelming. You can stay in your apartment as long as you need, Susan assured her. We'll increase your therapy sessions, and you can set the pace for reconnecting with your family. Robert's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face darkened. Wallace, we have a problem. Mrs. Miller has disappeared from her retirement home. Someone must have tipped her off. Wallace immediately stepped out to make calls. Sophia didn't seem surprised. She always said if anyone came asking questions, she'd be gone before they could find her. We'll find her, Robert promised. She won't get away with what she did. As the meeting wrapped up, Sophia stood to leave. At the door, she turned back to Robert. Can I ask you something? Anything. That night you found me outside the hotel, was it really just chance? Or do you think that something brought us together? Robert finished. I've asked myself that every day since. Whatever it was, fate, coincidence, or something else, I'm grateful. Sophia gave a small nod. Me too. As she walked out, Robert knew that finding Sophia was just the beginning. The real journey, healing from the past and building a future together, was only just starting. 1 month had passed since the DNA test confirmed what Robert had suspected from the first moment he saw Mia on the street. The girl he had found by chance was indeed his daughter Sophia, stolen from him 10 years ago. The transition had not been easy. Sophia, she was slowly getting used to her real name again, still lived in the apartment, needing her own space while she adjusted to her new reality. Robert visited every day, bringing photos and videos of her childhood, helping her reconnect with her past. Today was different. Today she would meet her mother for the first time in 10 years. Are you nervous? Robert asked as they drove through the city in his car. Sophia nodded, fidgeting with the sleeve of her new blue sweater. What if she doesn't like who I've become? Diana has thought about this moment every day for 10 years, Robert assured her. She loves you, no matter what. They pulled up to a small cafe where Diana waited inside. Robert had suggested a neutral location for their first meeting, not wanting to overwhelm Sophia. Ready? He asked. Sophia took a deep breath. Ready. The moment they stepped inside, Diana stood up from her table. She was still beautiful at 50, with the same hazel eyes that Sophia had inherited. For a long moment, mother and daughter just looked at each other. Sophia, Diana whispered, tears streaming down her face. My baby. Sophia moved forward slowly, unsure. Then Diana opened her arms and Sophia fell into them. They held each other tightly, both crying. Robert watched from a distance, giving them space. After everything that had happened, seeing them together again felt like a miracle. Later, as they sat talking over lunch, Diana couldn't stop looking at her daughter. You look so much like your grandmother, she said. She would have been so happy to see you again. Is she? Sophia asked. She passed away 5 years ago, Diana said sadly, but she never lost hope we would find you. Sophia nodded, taking in another piece of her lost history. We have news, Robert said, changing the subject. Detective Wallace called this morning. They arrested Mrs. Miller in Mexico yesterday. Sophia went still. Did she say anything about me? She's cooperating with authorities, Robert explained gently. She's given them names of others involved in the trafficking ring. Because of her information, 3 more missing children have been located. Will I have to see her? Sophia asked, fear in her voice. Will I have to testify? Diana reached for her hand. Not if you don't want to. Your father has hired the best lawyers to protect you. We're only asking you to focus on healing, Robert added. The legal system will handle the rest. As they finished lunch, Sophia seemed lost in thought. Finally, she spoke. "I've been thinking about what I want to do next," she said. "Dr. Chen says I'm making good progress, but I still have a long way to go. Whatever you need, we'll support you," Diana assured her. "I want to finish high school," Sophia said firmly, "and then maybe study psychology. I want to help other kids who've been through trauma." Pride filled Robert's eyes. Despite everything she had endured, being abducted, abused by the Millers, living on the streets, his daughter had emerged with a compassionate heart. "There's something else," Sophia continued. "I think I'm ready to visit our old house, the one from my memories." Robert and Diana exchanged surprised glances. "Are you sure?" Robert asked. "It might bring up difficult emotions." "I need to connect those memory fragments," Sophia explained, "to make myself whole again." The next day, Robert drove Sophia to the family home he had never sold, unable to let go of the last place where they had all been happy together. As they walked through the front door, Sophia froze. "The staircase," she whispered. "I remember sliding down the banister. You would pretend to be angry, but you were always smiling." She moved through the house like someone in a dream, touching objects, opening doors. In her old bedroom, now preserved exactly as she had left it, she found Mr. Whiskers, her teddy bear, still sitting on her bed. Sophia picked him up, hugging him to her chest. For the first time since they'd found each other, Robert saw his daughter smile a real, uninhibited smile. "Welcome home, Sophia," he said softly. Standing in the doorway of her childhood bedroom, holding her old teddy bear, Sophia looked at her father with tears and hope in her eyes. "I am home," she replied. "Finally home."